as a journalist, you have to understand there's no story watch your life. That's just it, no matter how juicy the story is. Before you go out to cover it, you have to weigh your options. Is it worth it? So it's important for every station, every media outlet to find a way to train its journalists or its staff on how to report in conflict zones.
Welcome to Beyond the Books, where we uncover real-world situations, issues, skills, and knowledge that we're not really taught in school. So today I have a seasoned journalist, a person that has gone over the world and beyond just to cover news, to write reports, and do a lot of amazing things in the field of journalism. I have today Philip Slevin. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm really glad that you were able to make it here today. Yes. So, as I said, we are going to talk about the real world issues now in journalism. So, I don't want to beat around the bush telling me how you went into journalism. His story is inspiring, so you can just check him out on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. He's all over the internet. So now, I have a question for you.
Sure, shoot.
So let's be real. We know that this is the advent of AI. Technology, and the world is advancing in the speed of light. So there are a lot of occupations that were relevant before that are not as relevant as before. For instance, now, newspapers. In 2020s, in 2000s and 1990s, newspapers were the happening things. People were purchasing newspapers on a daily. But currently, we have a lot of news. We have a lot of news being dispensed through the internet and stuff like that. So newspaper organizations just went down. So now, I want to understand if this is the same for journalism in general. So, are you scared that your occupation as a journalist, gathering, sourcing, reporting news, can be taken over by the AI, the technology, robots, and every other thing that's coming in? And secondly, do you still think that studying mass communication in this 21st century is a very good choice option, putting beside AI? So let's tackle first of all that. How are you sure that your organization or you as a person will not go out of relevance?
All right, now, so the issue of AI is not just the multimedia or mass comm or journalism. AI is taking over everything. Every workforce is affected one way or the other by AI. So regarding AI taking over, I did a course, AI in newsroom.
Okay.
Because I know of in London also there is a station that is run by an AI. The editor is an AI. So what the AI usually do is go online, gather news from different agencies and paraphrase it and initiate or create a person who will read the news, and then you'll see it.
And it will be as smooth as a human.
Yes, you'll think as if it's someone that went out to report and it's another person presenting or casting the news, but actually it's an AI. It is scary, but still there are some questions regarding that, regarding how an AI could take over the news. There is that human factor that is missing. In every factor where the AI is there, so there's, on a general note, there's that human factor that is missing. So I wouldn't say I'm scared. What will be.
Okay.
Hopefully, maybe by the time it will take over, I might be retired or so.
So what's the future for all that? You know, the second question I mentioned was that so are you trying to say that people will no longer have interest in studying mass communication or television journalism anymore? Students, people want to rather study data analysis, cybersecurity, other things that are relevant to the advancement of the world. Are you saying that studying journalism can actually go extinct?
Yes, it might. I won't say I can see the future, so I can't just generalize on that. But it might, because everything now is one way or the other, directly or indirectly getting extinct.
True.
Like the case of a good example is back then you just have to go to school to learn. Now there is that factor where there's what's known as homeschooled.
Yeah.
And gradually, things will fall out where you will see there will be no need for a child to go to the four walls of the university or primary or secondary institution. So it might happen, it might come to pass, because these days also you don't have to go to a building to learn some things. With YouTube, you can get everything. With an AI, it can give you narration or explanation about every other factor. So there is that possibility. But the fact of giving out news or information or mass communication as a form or as how do I put it, as a thing won't be extinct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I've also heard like about photojournalists, people that just take pictures, citizen journalists, people that other cover these things as well. So I think that people also can play a role in sourcing out the news that the AI would use, right?
Yes, because it uses if you go out to report and put the detail out there on internet about this thing happened, that thing happened, and it's linked to this person, and there's detail about this person online.
Exactly.
It basically just use whatever that has been put out on the internet. Yes. So it just goes around, scouts for instance, if you go on an AI and ask, get me the 10 most interesting stories today in Nigeria, specifically in Abuja, it will do that. It's not
because someone might have written maybe something related.
It's just it. So it will capture whatever it can find regarding, maybe using some certain keywords where maybe they are saying this is the 10 most interesting things to consider in Abuja today and stuff like that. That's basically what it does, I think.
Okay. So if I get what you're saying that there would possibly be a reduction in employment in mass communication, but the term or the people involved will not go extinct. Like there will be some parts in employment, like there'll be some people
already
that can be replaced.
I know of mega stations that are shutting down their bureaus. They are just going online and all that. The issue or that factor where you have a big newsroom with people on
everyone desktop, going back and forth.
Everything now is
there'll be a reduction.
Yes, unless the legacy media is it's trying to find a way to balance itself, I think. Because now you find everything on a mobile phone.
True.
And if you look at the way where they are broadcasting these days, you find out that they're using cell phone or let me say mobile journalism, where a presenter will just sit in her house. The COVID-19 brought that, by the way. Where somebody will sit in her house with her phone on a tripod and record an event, and that's just it. You see, that factor of having a cameraman is going extinct. That factor of having a news editor or a video editor is also going extinct because the presenter is doing everything.
Yeah, very true.
So one way or the other, it's degrading the valuable aspect of having more crew for a production. Great,
thank you. All right, so moving on to the next question now. While mass communication and journalism is still relevant, a lot of people still want to be journalists and study the course. So now I have instances of people.
By the way, you mustn't it mustn't be that you study mass comm to be a journalist. Because I studied theater arts, by the way.
Oh, really? That's lovely. So do you now have? So you must at least have something professional linked to it, right? Maybe a short course or something.
On journalism? Nah, not one. So you can just say you have the passion, you put yourself into it, you find a way.
You learn on the job. Yes, okay. Yes. Oh, nice. All right. So the next question now, we are talking about real world issues. I'm going to highlight about 3 people here from three journalists that unfortunately lost their lives. So first one is Akle from Palestine. He was shot dead while reporting in 2022. He's an Al Jazeera journalist covering the Israel-Palestine conflict. Now we have Kim Walls from Denmark. He was murdered while investigating in 2017. He was a freelance journalist investigating a private submarine inventor in Denmark. So now let's bring it down to Nigeria. We have Eneche who was shot while covering Boko Haram's issue in 2012, a Channels television reporter in Kano. And we have Alex, who was killed during a protest in 2020 when they were protesting against police brutality. So these are people. These are not robots. These are humans that have they are linked to families, friends, loved ones, and these are people that were killed on the job, like while reporting. So it's linking up to this question now: what's the future of journalists, and how can journalists truly be protected? How can you truly be protected as a war journalist? If you're a war journalist, for instance, what's the guarantee that people that want to venture fully into journalism, their lives are being protected? Or is there like a mandate they sign and swear and say, as I become a journalist, your life is at risk and every other thing you leave behind? So these are people that died on the job. What do you think? How are journalists truly protected?
Well, this brings, before I move forward, as a journalist, you have to understand there's no story, watch your life. That's just it, no matter how juicy the story is. And also it is important, just like where I, of course, work, where we have this course of journalists reporting in conflict zone. So it is important for every station, every media outlet to find a way to train its journalists or its staff on how to report in conflict zones, whether it's in a riot or protest, or where there is actual war, where there is explosive fire, or whatever conflict situation you can find yourself. At least if you have this understanding on how to go about the reporting or putting the story out there, and of course taking yourself back home safe, I think it will go a long way. So it all boils down to the station doing that by training their staff, or you as an individual understanding if the station can handle that capacity. You yourself as an individual, we have that course. It's just for you to apply, and of course you get that knowledge. So it's as simple as you fortifying yourself by getting the knowledge of how to go about things while reporting in conflict zones.
So there is no guarantee for their life being protected?
They say prevention is better than cure. So at least if you prevent some things, you could at least live longer. If God says you will, of course, live longer.
I don't think I'm comfortable with that, to be very honest. I don't think that it's right for journalists to have to go out to cover news with the idea that they might not come back home safely. Okay,
so well, you could have gotten that if you go through the course that, of course, my media station is handling, reporting in conflict zones, where, of course, before you go out in any situation, any scenario where you have to access
the area,
you have to access the whole report, the whole story. Is it worth it? If look at plan A, plan B, plan C.
So who covers it if journalists don't?
Okay, I'm getting to the point where, of course, before you go out to cover it, you have to weigh your options.
Okay.
Is it worth it?
Okay.
Now, for instance, let's take for instance, let me rewind back when, of course, the Jama'atu al-Sunnah wal-Jihad, aka Boko Haram, captured Bama, put their flag there, and you are thinking about covering a story there. You have to look at the fact that, okay, all this while, have they accepted any journalists? What's the possibility of them accepting you as a journalist? Will you come back safe? Do they allow all those factors? You see, you weigh those options and look at, okay, if you go capture that, or do you have anybody to reach in that zone where you could talk things in case it happens? In the case of eventualities where, okay, fine, you are being kidnapped. How do you go about? So you have to weigh all these options before you think about covering that story. If out of you weighing, you figure there is no way out, there's a reason why other stations didn't go for it. So you can't be, you're not having two heads.
Amazing. Oh, that's it's unfortunate that journalists have lost their lives, but based on what he said now, you need to weigh your options properly as journalists and aspiring journalists to whether or not you cover this type of news. Why are you even covering it? Is it for your fame? Is it for the station? Other things like that. So
if at the end you find no way out, there's no point going. That's why I said earlier, there's no story, watch your life.
Watch your life.
Yes.
That's amazing. All right, so unfortunately we are going to the last question for today. So now there's a picture in which they paid journalists to be, When I was younger, I think I always wanted to be a journalist because I saw there was like a glamorous way journalists wear. They look good, they speak really good English, taking programs, laughing when it's time to laugh, serious. So it looked like a very interesting occupation that was fun. So now I want you to tell me now, aside that, what is the difficult part of journalism that people are not taught about in school? The difficult aspects of journalism, or as a journalist, difficult things, maybe in covering stories or any other thing like that?
So one interesting factor is most of the stories or news are time bound. So imagine you have to figure everything out within a short period of time so that you let it out. That's one factor. And also another factor is you as a reporter, they do see news where, of course, you've interviewed like 5 people on the streets on a certain situation. They are not aware of the fact that you stopped like 100 to ask them if they could speak on such situation. So they saw 5 and they were like, okay, all these 5 people said their mind and they were aggressive. They didn't know you had to stop countless people and
try to balance the 5 people.
Ask them like, can we talk about this? And somebody will be like, no. He will act as if you are trying to ask him for money or you're trying to ask him for help. This is you asking him to say out what is bothering him regarding or national, based on national interest or stuff like that. But they don't see that aspect. And also there are those factors where, of course, you have to crack your brain on what what will be interesting to somebody out there, just so that you can. He could be at home, pressing his phone while you're out there thinking of what to give him while he's on his phone. What will interest him. So those factors, I don't think they usually teach journalists in school that they will come to meet
in the real world.
Yes, and also again, change. They will never tell you that there's this change that might come that you might not be ready for. You understand? The world is changing. It's gradually switching to new things, new taste. I mean, those that are in school, those that were taught or that graduated, let me say, 3 or 5 years back, I'm sure they didn't teach them or put them through of the change that might come with social media and all that.
People before COVID.
Yes. So things are just switching, and most of the times it's just you personally accepting that change and moving with the change.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I think I personally have learned a thing or two from this beautiful interview, and I'm sure you've learned a lot of things that you probably were not taught in school regarding journalism and being a journalist. So if you are an aspiring journalist and still you have the flair, you have the desire, I hope that Phillips Living has been able to dissect everything regarding journalism based on the questions we've asked him. And of course, while journalism is still in vogue, you can still dabble into it. Thank you so much for being on this segment. It was such a beautiful time talking with you.
My pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much. This is Beyond the Books, and I remain Ojo Favor.